back again after the play-in tournament just concluded last night. What a mediocre tournament.
For one
side
conference.
The East was uncompetitive all 3 games.
Let me see. 27-point win for the Pacers, 18-point win for the Celtics, and then a 27-point win for the Wizards.
Yep, uncompetitive on the Eastern side, but all 3 West games went down to the wire.
Outstanding, because
I don't think
those are legitimate playoff teams going at each other.
I seen the ratings of like the Memphis San Antonio game had like half the ratings of the Lakers.
The Lakers Warriors game had the most views for any game
since the Steph Curry shot.
2019 conference finals.
I heard it was.
The 2019 conference finals. The last time the game had gotten the reviews, gotten the views at that game. I got on ESPN, I think.
On ESPN. Okay, I heard it was like the most highest rated since like the Steph Curry shot game against Oklahoma City.
Oh wow, it was just the big time ratings. The NBA. I also forgot what he wanted from the West.
And except for last night when we saw my guy Ja Morant put Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors away in an impressive game. Steph Curry fought all the way to the end. Draymond Green was a little subpar. Andrew Wiggins. Yeah. Kelly Oubre didn't show up to the series.
Neither did
Wiseman didn't show up to the series. So Golden State was hurt. And then Memphis put them away with their depth, and they are the youngest team to make the playoffs since the
OKC Big Three. And if Utah's go get a fight like we got a fight from them in 2010, that spells danger for Memphis in the future. But we'll see.
And on the East side, we saw the 2 teams that we picked were going to be in to make it.
Celtics beat the Wizards. Wizards beat the Pacers. It was pretty chalk.
In the East, I mean, the play-in tournament don't make sense in the East because in the end, the 7 and 8 just made it. But luckily, it's validated because Memphis used the second chance game to get in. So at least somebody got in via winning 2 games.
Yeah.
Then, so I guess we could say, I mean, how do you feel about the play-in? You think it'll be back? Adam Silver said it'll be back.
It's never going away. LeBron and Steph Curry, like as much as LeBron hated the play-in tournament, the shot he hit is the reason why it's never going away.
Even though that last night's game was I didn't. It went to overtime. I was like, wow, this game. I mean, Memphis of course blew 2 leads in both of their playing games. They're a young team, so you're not surprised.
That whole game, we always knew Golden State was going to make a run. Steph and Draymond down the stretch, 2-man game, fought their way back into it. But Memphis is others. I gotta give it as great as Ja was, and Ja was incredible.
Grayson Allen hit those 2
Grayson
big
Allen
shots.
And Xavier Tillman hit 3 threes combined in overtime, and
then
that'll put you over the top.
Triple J was playing great defense. Offensively, he struggled, but his defense was pretty great last night. And then of course the tic-tacky fouls. The NBA was trying to help Golden State as much as they could. They kept Jonas Valanciunas, who was dominant in his few minutes of playing. He was pretty good, but he stayed in foul trouble. Triple J was in foul trouble. All right.
So question: outside of the Lakers, do any of these playoff teams have a chance? Any play-in teams have a chance of getting a series?
No. I mean, good for them to fight. I mean, unfortunate for the Pacers that they were so hurt. Then they lost Karis LeVert, so that didn't help. And then Charlotte was just completely no-showed.
Yeah, we don't know what the hell happened to Charlotte. San Antonio really didn't belong. We know DeMar DeRozan in big games ain't going to show up.
San Antonio's after going 22 years of not missing the playoffs, have missed the playoffs 2 straight years. It's weird.
Well, you can probably blame Popovich for that, for trading Kawhi Leonard for DeMar DeRozan in a bag of chips. Instead of just trading Kawhi to where he wanted to go.
Was in that trade. What was he going to get? What was he going to get back? LeBron James in the trade?
No, he would have got the guys who are bailing in New Orleans right now.
Exactly. So, and they wasn't going to get Zion on top of those guys. So it was a lose-lose once they ruined that relationship. I mean, I guess that's it for the play-in. I mean, we can move on to the playoffs. All right, before we get into our first-round predictions, I guess we'll go into overall who do we think will be in the finals. And unfortunately, I'm a Nets fan. You're a Lakers fan. So we're riding down.
There's no scenario in which that ain't the finals.
That's going to be the fun. And that's what I want to see. So, and that's what the NBA wants to see. So if that's not the finals, and it's something like Utah. I saw someone talking about they can't wait to see Utah versus Brooklyn in the finals. No.
Rob Perez said Clippers Sixers. It's just...
Yeah, Ben Simmons and Paul George.
Gonna come through when it matters, because that's what they're known for doing, I guess.
Yeah, that's not where we're going to... So we're going to ride with Lakers Nets. I'm pretty sure that could be the finals. I will say if LeBron's injury is worse, the Clippers might slide in. Denver might still finesse in.
The Clippers don't even believe they could beat the Lakers.
We don't know that. They just didn't want to play them in the first round.
The Nuggets don't believe it either. As we watched both of those teams do everything they could to make sure that wasn't, if they were so ready to knock off the Lakers, then why didn't you want to see us early? This is the best time to see us. While LeBron's still healing up, while the chemistry is still going, while Dennis Schroeder is still being terrible coming off those health and safety protocols, this was the time to catch the Lakers.
Or not after LeBron's been beat up 2 more rounds over. I mean, it's all strategic. We'll find out. We'll see how it works out. But, I mean, if the Lakers don't make it, then I guess I'd go with the Clippers, ? And undoubtedly don't want to be saying the Clippers will make it to the finals, but maybe. And my team, if the Nets don't make it in the East, the Bucks will probably be my team to make it in the East. Because they'll have to.
I agree. I think the Bucks are the second best team in the East. And I think the Clippers are probably the second best team in the West.
But I will say, I don't think the Clippers could beat Denver. So, maybe if they get lucky and don't have to play Denver, they'll be in the finals. If they're going to need a LeBron James injury and to avoid Denver to make it to the finals. So, good luck to the Clippers.
All right, so I guess we want to start off with round 1?
Yeah, let's move on to round 1. Okay, starting with the first matchup, we've got the Utah Jazz in a barn burner versus the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm sure the NBA was happy that this would be a first round series.
This sounds like the NBA TV series. That's really what it sounds like.
Hey, there's Ja versus Mitchell.
I don't even think it's about the matchup. It's about watching Ja getting his playoff experience, seeing Ja in the playoffs, seeing how the Memphis young guys perform on this stage. I think the best win for the NBA is that Memphis gives them a fight and gets a game, and maybe keeps 2 other games kind of close. I mean, I think that's probably the most we can probably expect out of Memphis in this first round series. Yeah, I got Utah in a gentleman's sweep.
I got Utah in 5. It screams Ja Morant and the bench mob and Triple J win one game because they're talented as fuck.
And they'll probably be down 3-0 when it happens.
But unfortunately, they're going to play big, and that's going to keep. And Jonas Valanciunas probably won't be dominating Rudy Gobert. So
that's the thing. Rudy Gobert is the ultimate matchup neutralizer for Jonas Valanciunas,
who was amazing in that first playoff playing game, by the way. Yeah.
And if that's going to allow, because you're not going to be I doubt that they're just going to sag off a Ja the way that Golden State chose to.
Don't do that.
You don't have to, because how's Ja's going to get to the cup with Rudy Gobert standing back there? So. Yeah, bad matchup for Memphis. Congrats on them for getting into the tournament. This will be the first of hopefully many playoff experiences for Ja Morant.
But if they are as talented as the numbers say, they are the youngest team to make it since that Oklahoma City Big 3. Wow. If they give Utah a fight, I mean, watch out for them. They have a bright future. But yeah, Utah in 5. Luckily for Utah, they avoided LAL and Golden State. So big win for them. Next, I guess we'll go to Suns versus Lakers. For the first time ever, the Lakers, a 7 seed, is favored to win a series versus a 2 seed.
And that's about right.
Who you got?
I think just based off of our finals picks, I think it's pretty obvious who I got. Lakers should win this series in 5 or 6 games. We're a bad matchup for them. They don't have anybody to guard AD. Mikal Bridges is going to slow down LeBron on the wing, and we have arguably the best guard perimeter defenders in the league in Alex Caruso, KCP, Dennis Schroeder. It's just not a good matchup for Phoenix. It's unfortunate that Phoenix had this amazing regular season. They're back in the playoffs for the first time in 11 years. But just like their last playoffs ended, is how this playoffs will end, with the Los Angeles Lakers sending them home.
Yeah, I've got the Lakers in 6. Chris Paul will fight, get him a game. Devin Booker will probably go off, get him a game. Maybe DeAndre Ayton picks it up and they keep them competitive, but this is a bad draw for the Suns. That sucks.
It sucks. It really do. The Suns could have used, even a Golden State would have been better. Memphis would, any other matchup for Phoenix, and they might be getting out of the first round here. But it's unfortunate.
They're going home in the first round. All right, so next we'll go to the rematch of last year's first round. Clippers versus Dallas. Probably going to be the best series on the West side.
I agree.
I mean, this series, in my opinion, is all going to come down to how healthy Kristaps Porzingis is.
That's something you can't rely on. Even if he is healthy, he could easily be not healthy in the next minute or two.
Yeah.
And I don't think Dallas is as good of a team as they were last year. They gave up Seth Curry for Josh Richardson. That looks like a massive net negative.
He's probably the most overrated player in the league. He's been
Mm.
traded twice, and everybody said he was going to be their piece in Philly, and then piece in Dallas, and then no, he just can't play really.
It's like it's rough. But I don't know how much better the Clippers are
From last year.
from last year either.
Even though Serge Ibaka,
Who missed basically the entire second half of the season with back soreness. And not saying Serge Ibaka could definitely be a help for their rotation. He will allow them to not have to play Zubac a bunch of minutes. Him and Zubac will probably be splitting up pretty good, and Serge can help space the floor. Dallas doesn't really have anything on the wing to combat Kawhi and Paul George, but we know Kawhi and Paul George. We know
they struggled
that-
with Luka last year. I mean, no Montrezl Harrell to poke the bear this year.
Yeah, that's very true. No Lou Will either. No Lou Will and
to be
Montrezl
to be trash.
It's like those guys have been placed with Rondo and Serge Ibaka, which are small but upgrades. They're just different than what they have. Instead of having scorers off the bench, now they have veteran leadership off the bench. I also think the Mavericks have the coaching advantage, though. I definitely think Rick Carlisle's a better coach than Tyronn Lue. And for Porzingis doesn't get suspended, that might be a different series last year. So, or ejected. I don't think he got suspended.
He got ejected, yeah.
And then hurt.
Yeah, ejected then hurt, and that changed, and they still went down in 6. So
I think even then, I think the series will end like it ended last year with the Clippers in 6. I just think they have more talent, and I still have belief that Kawhi Leonard can at least carry him through this.
now I will say Kawhi was banged up also the back end
He's
of the
always
season.
banged up. That's their load management type of thing. Like he could have been playing if they.
I don't know.
wanted
He
him
looked
to
a little.
play.
He looked a little. I mean, I'm gonna say I got the Clippers in 7. I think this will be the best first round series. But I will say if Kristaps Porzingis plays 7 healthy games, Dallas could win this series because I don't think the Clippers have a matchup for him.
They don't. Dallas absolutely can't. If things break right, if Josh Richardson, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Maxi Kleber and those, if the others outside of Luka and Porzingis show up and outplay the Clippers others, then I think Luka and KP could definitely outperform Kawhi and PG. That is 100% for sure.
Because we know what PG is about in the play. PG's legacy is on the line this year. He
Absolutely.
can't shoot no shots off the backboard
Can't blow no 3-1 leads.
and can't make no damn stupid excuses in the post game interview after they lose.
So, but even then, we just think just because of Kawhi and the slight talent advantage, I think we both think the Clippers will get out of here in 6 or 7 games.
But watch out, this has upset alert on the Clippers written all over it.
On the west side, this is probably the biggest chance for an upset.
Yeah. So next and final West matchup we're going to talk about is the Denver versus Portland matchup. The MVP frontrunner Nikola Jokic versus Dame Dollar. We saw this matchup 2 out of the last 3 years.
Yeah,
Last year was the first year we didn't see it.
We saw it in 2019, and that's the first time Denver had actually made the playoffs in a while. You remember they went through that run where they couldn't get in. They were just
That was the game they went to 7, right?
yeah, in the semis.
So that was the first time we seen it.
yeah, and this will be the second time.
Okay, so this is the second time in 3 years we're seeing this series. I mean, even though Jamal Murray's out, I'm taking Denver in 5 or 6. I think they're gonna handily beat Portland.
Denver definitely should be the favorite, in my opinion, just because Michael Porter Jr. has made his step up. So I think they're more or less the same
They're about
team
to, like I
as
told
they
you,
were last
by
year.
by Michael Porter Jr. getting better and also adding Aaron Gordon, it kind of minimizes the fact that they lost Jamal Murray. So they
So
can't
I
be
think
that
they're
dominant
more-
presence, but they're about the same team as long as, and I think Jokic is better than last year. So
So I definitely think they're the same team as last. They're about the same level of team as last year. The thing about Portland is, I think Portland improved. Norman Powell trade, adding Robert Covington, Yusuf Nurkic is healthier this year than he was last year.
but you know how Jokic does against he loves you to beat up on Yusuf Nurkic.
Yeah,
Former
Nurkic
teammates.
is a good player though. Nurkic can at least make Jokic have to work a little bit on the other end.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take Denver in 6 just because I think they're more talented because Jokic is going to be the best player on the floor and they don't really have anybody to match up with Michael Porter Jr.
They don't. They got
Because
2
you're-
guys that they can't match. Portland. I mean, Denver's got 2 guys Portland can't match up with probably.
Exactly. So I think I'll take Denver in 6, but like Dallas, Portland can win the series because Dame is going to show up in the playoffs. You know he can play well. CJ McCollum has been known to show up in the playoffs.
He saved them the last time they played.
This is the best group of wing defenders they've ever. They don't have to rely on Carmelo Anthony this year. They can play Powell. They can play Covington high minutes. So like Portland's got a shot here. Like Portland, this is probably the most even in terms of talent, I think, in the Western bracket. So I definitely think that, but it's just like with two small guards, it's hard to put a lot of faith in Portland to be able to beat a team that's big like the Nuggets are with Jokic.
Especially since, like, if Will Barton plays, like, he's given one of those guys in the Portland backcourt some problems before. The
Campazzo can play. They got Monty Morris just came back for them. He's healthy and should be ready to go. So, yeah.
I do think Denver's coach is better. Even though I do think Denver's coach is a little overrated, I do think Malone is a better coach than Stotts. And Stotts is probably going to, if he loses this series...
The loser of this series is coach is getting fired. I think that's the case. Yeah. I don't think it matters who loses it.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for the West. Now we're going to move on to the East.
Yeah.
All right, first matchup we got in the East is the 1 seed 76ers versus Russell Westbrook's team, Washington Wizards that were 15 games under 500. What a comeback for them to make it into the playoffs after being 15 games under 500. Took a bad loss in that first playing game. Russell Westbrook in the playoff-ish.
Yeah, we understand how that's going to be.
But they dominated the second one. He had a great game. No one said anything about the fact that he had an amazing game in the second game. But
he averages 27, 20, and 15 against the team. So like
that being the Pacers.
That being the Indiana Pacers.
Game was over pretty quick.
Dominated them the entire year. And as with the most of the East playing games, after the first quarter, the game was basically decided.
All right, well, this one, I'm pretty sure I think the Wizards are going to give them a better fight than most people think, but I'm pretty sure Philly will handle this one up in 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'll probably take Philly in 5 here, but it'll be a competitive 5. I think in the last 5 minutes of probably 3 or 4 games, we won't know who's going to win for sure. But Philly will probably just find a way to close them out because they just have more overall talent. They're much bigger on the across the board with Tobias and Ben Simmons. So Philly, just talent-wise and size-wise, they just overwhelmed the Wizards, I think. But with Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, they could definitely be good enough for at least 1 game, maybe 2.
And I would say, if you rank the players in this series, Joel would probably be the best player, but Bradley, Beal, and Russ would probably be 2 and 3.
Yes.
In front of Ben Simmons at 4. But the problem is, after that, Philadelphia's probably got the next 3 or 4 guys.
Tobias, Danny Green, Dwight Howard.
Seth
Curry. They got a bunch of guys with championship experience on their team. Doc Rivers, as much as we trash him, he's way better than Scott Brooks as a coach.
Everybody is. Scott Brooks is not that great of a coach, but yeah.
So, yeah, Philly should win this one. It'll be a little bit of a fight, but Philly should take care of the business right here.
All right, next we're going to 2-7. To the matchup that I think is going to be the most uncompetitive of all the playoff matchups.
Agreed.
Brooklyn versus the Celtics, who are missing Jaylen Brown. Kemba Walker's a shot fighter. I've got Brooklyn in a easy sweep, probably.
Tatum might go for 51 game.
4 or 5. Tatum might win him a game.
But no, I think Brooklyn sweeps him here just because of the Kyrie vendetta. Kyrie's going to be in Boston burning his sage, getting booed out of the building. But Brooklyn, Kevin Durant, James Harden, they're going to try hard for the Kyrie to get this done as quickly as possible.
And we did sweep them during the regular season while they were healthy. So
during the regular season, no Jaylen Brown being available. Even without Jaylen Brown, they still have talent enough to maybe keep a game or 2 close, but it's unfortunate.
Too much Kevin Durant, too much James Harden, too much Kyrie Irving.
It's unfortunate for Boston. They're going to have to go home here and figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah, at least Tatum had that big playing game, dropped 50, looked impressive.
Tatum has shown he's ready. Tatum has shown he's ready to be the best player on a really, really good playoff team, but the circumstances they fell into, the fact that they have to see Brooklyn, maybe if they saw Philly, I'd give them a better shot. But the fact that they have to run into a team that has a specific vendetta against them in a playoff where everyone's going to be trying their hardest, Brooklyn should handle business pretty easily here.
And we've got another rematch from last year at the 3-6. We've got the former 1 seed Bucks for the last 2 years. This year this year they were just 3, and the team that went to the finals last year out of the East, the Miami Heat. I think probably the best coach in the East side, probably being Eric Spoelstra.
Possibly, he might be the best coach in the NBA. I think there's
Popovich
for that. Pop too, but yeah.
I mean, this year we saw Milwaukee. They traded away Eric Bledsoe and went and got Drew Holiday.
Massive upgrade.
People weren't saying that in the beginning. People were wondering how big of an upgrade that would be earlier this year.
I don't know who was wondering if Drew Holiday was a better player than Eric Bledsoe. That's on you if you were doing that.
But I said that's what people were saying.
New Orleans,
Eric Bledsoe, a mixture of Eric Bledsoe and bad Chris Middleton is probably what has held the Bucks back. They probably shouldn't have picked Eric Bledsoe over Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon, who looked pretty sad playing for Indiana when they were going out this year in the play-in. But I'm gonna take the Bucks in 5 actually, 5 or 6.
Wow.
I'm gonna take the Bucks in 5 or 6. I think they're gonna get their revenge back. I think Giannis will be good. I think Drew Holiday will outplay every player in the Heat's backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will be the difference this year. And maybe, when last year we saw, Chris Middleton actually stepped it up when Giannis got hurt, and he actually played good against the Heat. I just think the Bucks have too much talent.
The Bucks are a better team than last year, that's for sure. The Drew Holiday addition is a massive upgrade over Eric Bledsoe, that's for sure. But Miami Heat have championship mentality.
Their defense is going to keep them in this.
Their defense
All
will
these
keep
games,
them in it.
all these games could easily be down to the wire, and the Bucks are going to have to show that they can finally win close playoff games.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing: if the Bucks decide to be smart and let Giannis go be the DPOY that he is by guarding people, then the Bucks can handle this series in 5 or 6 games. But if Budenholzer is going to keep
His job's on the line. His job's on the line.
if Budenholzer's going to stay stubborn and just play the way he played and just give up 3-pointers and just try to clog the paint against a team that don't want to attack the paint all that much, this could go 7, and that's what I think is going to happen here. I think that Miami's going to push them to 7 games. I think the Bucks will close them out in the end because I think they just have enough more talent. But don't be surprised. Goran Dragic is going to show up. Hero's going to show up. Like they added Trevor Reeves to replace
Duncan
Crowder last
Robinson.
year. Like those guys are going to show up.
Those guys, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, were pretty trash this year. Like
That was, like I said, those teams who were playing in the conference finals last year, they all had to deal with adversity, struggles, tired legs, injuries, all that. But now this is the playoffs. The reset button has been hit. They've had a week off to really rest up. This is a matchup that Miami is confident in. They know they can beat the Bucks. The Bucks don't know if they can beat Miami, and I think that's how Miami will stay competitive for a very long series.
Hey, go ahead.
I expect this to be the best series of the first round in both conferences because it's the Bucks looking for revenge. The Heat with the confidence that they know they can get the job done here. I have a lot of faith in Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler's the second best player in the series, and Bam's 3. So as long as that's the case, I'm going to give the coaching advantage I think Miami also holds. I'm going to give Miami a shot here. It's going to go 7. Maybe I think Giannis will be able to close out in the end, so I'm going to pick Milwaukee, but this could be 50-50.
Hey, as a Nets fan, I hope it goes 7 because that means Miami's probably going to take a big chunk out of Milwaukee because that's not a regular 6 seed. So, I mean, I'd hope it goes 7, but I just think Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton will show up. I think Drew Holiday and we know Drew Holiday will show up because he's great in the playoffs. It's going to come down to Chris Middleton because he's had some disappointing playoffs the last few years.
But for Chris, he has the worst matchup. He has to go do the Jimmy Butler guarding, most likely. That's probably what the Bucks are going to ask him to do. And that's always going to make it hard. Like, Giannis should be doing that. He's the one built to do
that. But Giannis is probably going to guard Bam because he's probably got to guard Bam. That's the problem with that series.
But we know that if you're going to play Brook Lopez, then what's the point of him guarding Bam?
But you know,
that's how Jay Crowder killed you last year.
You know, Brook Lopez is a terrible rebounder.
That's very true.
So I think we might see, if they were smart, we might see less Brook Lopez. I'd probably slide Giannis down to the 5 because Brook Lopez probably cost him that series last year because Bam dominated on the glass whenever Giannis wasn't on him, and that Bam is the matchup problem because he could guard. He's physical enough to guard Giannis, and he's a mismatch for Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez has to show up because he's getting up there in age. So this could be a 7-game series because Miami's gonna fight. They're the biggest dogs in the East. Jimmy Butler is just playoff intensity is just crazy.
We know Jimmy Butler in the playoffs can carry a team further and higher than we've ever imagined before. But Jimmy Butler's like that, and that's why I think they can go 7 here.
And then the last matchup is the 4-seeded New York Knicks.
Wow, can you say that again?
The 4-seeded New York Knicks, top half of the bracket. Now, like you like to say, the Lakers were 3 games better than them.
I think that's about right.
But yeah,
and they get to be a 4 seed while the Warriors and the Lakers, who both have better records than the Knicks, have to go play. I
don't think the Warriors had a better record. The Warriors? I think the Warriors finished 500.
No, the Warriors were 39-31 or something like that. Let me see exactly.
While you look into that, I mean, and also another surprise: the 5-seeded Atlanta Hawks. I mean, no one thought Atlanta was going to be a 5 seed after the way they started this year.
Yeah, the fact
So-
that they fired a coach and then hired a guy who had just got fired, and they turned their entire season around. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The Knicks were 2 games better than the Warriors. By the way.
Okay. 2 games, just 2 games. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is probably going to be my choice for the best matchup in the East.
Mm-hmm.
The basketball is going to be sloppy and ugly,
Yes,
but
it
I think
is.
it's going to be competitively ridiculous. Now, I will say, unfortunately, none of these guys have playoff experience.
Exactly. That's the big one right there. None of these guys. This is gonna be a whole new territory for both of these guys.
But luckily, I will say the Knicks have the coaching
And Derrick Rose.
mismatch because Tom Thibodeau has had history of being good in the playoffs, while Nate McMillan has a history of getting swept in the playoffs.
very much agree. But the Hawks are a lot. The Hawks.
They're
They're
more talented.
more talented
They're more.
than the
No,
Knicks.
they're definitely
They're
more.
more talented than
Trae
the
Young's
Knicks.
probably the best player.
I
and
think Julius is the best player. I think Julius is the best.
you know
player.
I'm not a big Trae Young fan, but maybe I guess it's a toss up. Trae Young wasn't an All Star this year,
It's
so
like as much as I like Trae Young, and Trae Young's definitely the second best player in this series. Julius Randle deserves the credit. He's going to be All NBA this year, probably. He's easily going to be the most improved player. But this is going 7. I
Yeah.
think this is going to be a hardcore 95-91 for 7 games. Slug them out, drag them out, fight. And the reason why I think the Knicks will come out of that is because they're going to beat up Trae Young. Trae Young is going to take the beating of his life because the Knicks, they foul the most in the league. They're okay with it because they foul every play, and when they don't get fouled, they don't get called, they're going to have the advantage. They remind me a lot of the LOB secondary for the Seattle Seahawks a few years ago. You knew they were PIing, but like you can't call it every time, and that's how the Knicks play. You can't call it every time. They're physical. They're going to attack you, and I just don't know if the Hawks with Clint Capella and John Collins are ready for that kind of physicality for a full 7-game series to get out of there and get the victory.
I think the X factor. We didn't talk about much X factors because a lot of these series are coming down to the big players. But I think the X factor in this series, the guy that Hawks brought in this year, Bogdanovic, as their 2 guard. Him and Gallinari are probably both the X factors. So they're gonna have to be making lots of their shots.
They're going to have to be great. They're going to have to be great.
They're going to be open, so they're going to have to make their shots. They're going to have the better matchups because the Knicks don't have much good wings like that. Even though RJ Barrett's a good, young, developing wing, like, he's not that great on defense.
RJ Barrett and Reggie Bullock are not going to be able to guard Bogdan and Gallo. That's for sure.
And also DeAndre Hunter. So
Just came back.
He just came back, so, I mean, that's a good matchup for RJ Barrett. The other way around, Hawks do play defense, but I do think that Clint Capella, John Collins, whatever they got going on there is going to hold them back. Trae Young might not be ready for the intensity that this is going to give, and I also think the Knicks will hold out and beat him in 7. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just boat raced them and got him out the way, because we know what Nate McMillan's about.
And I think the last thing is fans. This is going to be the thing that I heard the Knicks are going to have 15,000 for Game 1 of the playoffs, and that's going to make a gigantic difference for a young team who's never been in the playoffs.
The Knicks getting
They
home
need
field
it the
advantage
most.
might help, because if they jump out and get up 2-0 right away, they might just walk in and
They can coast on that.
Yeah.
Honestly, they can coast on that. So yeah, I think the Knicks in 7. I think you got the Knicks in 6 or 7 games.
Knicks in 7. This should be going in 7.
Knicks in
But
7
I won't be
games.
surprised if the Knicks just dominate them with physicality, as you say that.
And definitely
I can see that. Like,
People are going to be beat up. There's going to be at least 2 injuries in this series. I think that's for sure.
it reminds me of that series that the Pelicans had against the Portland Trailblazers a few years ago. It was just like, oh no, we're actually way better than y'all, and y'all just don't know it. But yeah, I mean that's it for the first round, and I guess we'll hope everybody enjoys the first round of playoffs. Got a lot of great matchups, and we'll see them be back for the second round in a couple weeks.